Hello everyone, thank you for joining. My name is Luna and I am the founder of Vegan Bloomers, and our aim is to connect, inspire and learn. Now I'm very excited for today's guest because she's living the life of my dream. So let's go ahead and welcome Rachel. So welcome Rachel.
Hello, thank you so much for having me.
It's my pleasure. So let's begin with how old you are, where you're based, and tell us a little bit about yourself. Or originally based in your case.
That's not an easy question. So I'm 31. I'm based everywhere. So I live in my van as a full-time environmental and animal rights activist. So I predominantly live on the Stop HS2 camps. So currently we've got camps between sort of Aylesbury area and Staffordshire, so that's kind of where I spend most of my time, but I'm all over the place. I was originally from a place near Milton Keynes, so I'm quite nomadic. And I've already forgotten the third question. What was the third one?
Just tell us a little bit about you.
Oh, okay. So kind of summarizes most of it, I suppose. So I was vegetarian from the age of 9. I was vegetarian for about 20 years, and then I went vegan about a couple of years ago. And I think my whole life I've always wanted to try it. I know it sounds cheesy, but I want to make the world a better place and reduce the suffering, especially of animals. Humans as well, they're just as important, but animals suffer more and in greater numbers. So I've always, wanted to make my life about, making that better. And then that's kind of how I came across activism. And obviously I care about the environment a lot as well, so joining the Stop HS2 campaign because they've got all the protest camps, so that enabled me to just live and breathe activism just like by being on a camp. When you wake up in the morning, that's activism. So that's kind of me. I've got a little girl who's 8, and I've got my dog who's snoring away on the bed over there. That's it.
What do you like to do for fun?
Oh my lord, so many things. I love just being around people. I love people almost as much as I love animals. So for fun, a lot of it's just socializing. Living on this campaign, we're a really tight-knit community. So I'm very involved with Stop HS2. I'm quite involved with Animal Rebellion, a little bit involved with Extinction Rebellion. And it's all just a really caring, loving community. So I just hanging out with people, going for walks. I love being around nature. I love bouncing around to music. Just before you rang, I was bouncing around in my van to Voodoo Child next. I suppose that's it mostly. And keeping fit as well. I love keeping fit.
Awesome. Brilliant. Well, thanks for sharing. That sounds wild and amazing. I love it. So you've already mentioned a little bit briefly about your vegan journey. So can you just tell us in detail, like, what was it that got you to veganism in the first place?
You want the full in-depth story?
I want the full in-depth story. Yeah. Why?
Okay.
Where were you? And all the details.
So I've been an animal lover for as long as I can remember. My older sister encouraged that quite a lot when I was really little. And I just wanted to go vegetarian for a really long time. And I think I kind of thought about it for years, but I was only a small child. It's not that easy. And then at age 9, I just thought, I'm going to be vegetarian. I remember my first day going into the school dinner hall, and they had like sausages or turkey Twizzlers, and they looked so good. I had one of each, but the next day I went vegetarian. So that was like my last animals that I ate. And I went veggie the next day, and never looked back. My family aren't vegetarian or vegan, but they put up with it because they thought it would just be a phase. And then over the years, I can't remember how I got involved with Viva. It used to be Vegetarian International Voice for Animals. I think they're now Vegan International Voice for Animals, but I just remember having lots of their leaflets. And I learned about the cruelty of the dairy and the egg industries. But I just, for 20 years, I mean, I think I can forgive myself in the beginning I was only 9 to start with, but you know, for many years I kind of wished I could be vegan, but I couldn't give up cheese. And yeah, but it did used to disturb me, especially, you know, it was the dairy cows that got me, especially since having my daughter. Just the idea of having your child ripped away from you has always really struck me here. And over the years, just every now and then, I would just randomly, while I was trying to fall asleep, I would just randomly feel really sad. Like sometimes, you know, I can't even pinpoint a trigger, but I would just imagine how horrific it must be for these cows to lose their babies, and for the calves to lose their mothers as well. But I think just being a mum, I can empathize more with the cows. And just one evening, a couple of years ago, I just went to sleep feeling this way, just feeling really, really sad, because it's just so brutal. There is no nice way to get milk from a cow because you're stealing her baby. There is no humane way to do this. There's no kind way of doing it. It's horrific. And the next morning I just woke up and I was like, I want to be vegan now. So I did. And then there just happened to be a vegan fair that day, 5-minute walk from my house.
Oh wow.
I didn't even know about it. I was just scrolling Facebook. I was like, oh, there's a vegan fair up the road. So I went there, and this is how I very quickly jumped into activism. So I went to this vegan fair and I met some people from Anonymous for the Voiceless. So for anyone who's watching who doesn't know what that is, they do Cube of Truths, where they go into like public high streets and show videos of farm animal footage, all the farm animal cruelty, or lots of animal cruelty, but predominantly, you know, animals used for food, and just do a lot of outreach and speak to people and encourage people to go vegan. So I started doing that. And then from there, I heard about the Animal Rights March. So I went to the Animal Rights March, and from there, they announced Animal Rebellion being launched. And as soon as I heard about Animal Rebellion, so Animal Rebellion, they're kind of an offshoot of Extinction Rebellion, but completely focused on the food system, because you know, there are people that felt that Extinction Rebellion, as wonderful as they are, don't talk about the food system at all. But obviously, you know, farming animals is, you know, one of the most devastating, or the most devastating thing for the planet. So Animal Rebellion is all about, you know, fighting for a plant-based food system, which is just fantastic, not only for the environmental reasons, but the food system is the greatest cause of, I was going to say animal suffering, but no, just suffering. The food system, the animal food system, is the greatest cause of suffering, human or animal, in the world, combined, in terms of numbers, in terms of the level of suffering. And when I heard about that, I was like, that's where I need to be. So I've been really quite involved with Animal Rebellion ever since. And then
Did
sort of a little bit
animal and extinction join together at some point, or was that just a rumor?
we do a lot of actions together, so we're kind of, we are two separate movements, but we're sort of under the same umbrella. So XR support us loads, you know, so when we get arrested, we'll often use the XR back office, because they're very, very supportive. You get arrested, you call, you know, support, and you get people will be literally waiting outside the police station for you. So we'll use XR.
That's amazing.
Yeah, sometimes we'll do actions together. So when there's like the actual rebellions in London, XR will often do their thing, Animal Rebellion will often do our thing, but then on days that XR are doing something and we're not, we'll often just go and join them. So we're not actually together. I don't think we'll ever like merge, but we're very supportive of each other.
Okay, because there was a time, wasn't there, that they were completely like anti-veganism, wasn't there?
I don't know, that might have been before my time. I think from conversations I've had, I can't confirm if this is definitely true, but the impression that I get is that I think veganism kind of brings things a little bit too close to home, and I think there might have been a bit of reluctance in XR to talk about veganism and the animal food system, because then that kind of brings a certain level of accountability. You can't really go there preaching like, let's save the planet, we need to go plant-based, and then go and have your bacon sandwich. That's just my opinion. You know, that's the impression I get. I can't say that's definitely, you know, how members of XR that are not vegan think or anything. That's just the impression that I get. So I think that's kind of why Animal Rebellion came along.
That's fine. So when you, obviously we know that you're downfall with cheese, like many of us vegan, you know, in the former life. How did your family and your friends like actually react to when you decided to go vegan?
I don't think they really. I think the transition from vegetarian to vegan wasn't a big deal to anyone. I think my mum kind of rolled her eyes a bit, because it just meant like if I was coming around hers for dinner, she'd have to now veganize things. But she's cracking. She's dead supportive, and now she's because my daughter now lives with her while I'm doing a lot of the activism. So obviously I'm back there a lot, and she's always stocking the food up with vegan stuff. The rest of the family weren't really interested. Going vegetarian was actually a lot harder when I was a child, because even though my mum was quite supportive, my sister gave me a really hard time. She's very, very anti-vegetarian, very
That's
anti.
very interesting. Is this the same
Yeah,
sister that encouraged you to like care about animals, or have you got
yeah,
more than one? Okay, that's
yeah.
very interesting.
It's yeah, it's a tough one. So she gave me a really hard time for a year. I mean, she was only 14 at the time as well. You know, that was a long time ago, but she gave me quite a hard time over it. At school, I got a bit of a hard time over it, and I used to be a little bit embarrassed almost. Like I go to the restaurant, like, have you got anything vegetarian? Um, but yeah, no, going vegan was just such a small step, that I think there was a bit of eye rolling, and then that was that. And my partner at the time, because I used to eat so much cheese. I love cheese. I could get through a big block of cheese like in a couple of days. I'd get through a big block of cheese at least one a week. Um, and he literally said to me before I actually went vegan, when I'd kind of sort of mentioned like wishing I could be vegan. He was like, "There's no way you'll ever go vegan. You love cheese too much." But I proved him wrong. And
Yes, you
yeah.
did. So do you still have cravings for cheese, or is that gone now? Is that the
No,
system?
I was really surprised. I really did love cheese, and then I just went vegan, and I just got over it. What surprised me was at that time I was in the habit of eating scrambled eggs for breakfast every morning. So that's the only thing I really missed. I missed that for a couple of weeks, and then I discovered scrambled tofu, and I got over that. And I don't miss it at all. And that does surprise me. I thought I would crave it and miss it, but I don't.
Are you a fan of the vegan friendly cheeses? Or are you one of
Uh,
these vegans that can't stand it?
Depends how you have them. So I love like Papa John's and Domino's vegan pizzas. I love Bio Life cheese in a toasty. And like my mum's bought me like a vegan cheese board before. That was really nice. But then I don't like it like grated on pasta. I think it's minging. So yeah, I do like the cheese. It's just not in every context or every type, because you get some really good ones, you get some really bad ones.
Yeah, yeah, this is true. Okay.
Yeah.
So is there anything that you do miss? Like, doesn't have to include food, but like just anything in your lifestyle that you used to be able to do and now can't do because you're vegan?
Nothing. And I'm always very careful about phrasing as well, because people will say to me, "Oh, can you eat this?" And I'm like, and it'll have milk in it or something. I'm like, I can, I just choose not to. And that's just the attitude I have. I really don't feel like I can't do anything. I just look at something, I'm like, well, I don't want to, because it's not ethically sound in my view. So no, I honestly, hand on heart, can't think of a single thing that I miss pre-vegan.
Wow, that's impressive. Although I suppose actually I'm not surprised if you're like involved in activism so much, it probably is just completely gone out of your head because of
Yeah,
you're forefront of knowing what goes on.
yeah, it's a very strong boundary. I think it's very, very sort of black and white, I suppose. If something is going to contribute to animal suffering, animal exploitation, and if it's going to create a demand for something that, a demand for a product of animal exploitation, I just don't want it. I'm not interested. And then yeah, obviously being on the front lines, I've occupied a chicken farm. I've we as part of a group occupied a chicken farm. We've shut down a slaughterhouse. We've rescued chickens directly off a slaughter truck. So I did actually, when I was at school, I did 2 weeks work experience on a dairy farm. So I've
Oh
seen,
wow. Oh my
yeah, I've
goodness.
seen the
How
suffering
traumatic.
firsthand. It was, yeah, it was just, it's so sad. And yeah, that was a whole thing. I really bonded with some of the calves, and they were really, really lovely. But yeah, so I've seen it firsthand. I've seen the video. You know, I've watched. I didn't watch all of Dominion. I can't remember the name of it now. There was an
Earthlings.
Earthlings. I
That's
think,
one that's
yes,
meant to be
yes,
bad.
Earthlings.
I haven't
Yeah,
seen that one yet. I've seen Dominion though, but not Earthlings. But apparently Earthlings is really awful. So I will do it one day because I'm determined. I want to watch all of them just to, just to say I have.
I'm the same. I want to watch them all, but I think you have to be in the right mental state.
Yeah,
I don't want to watch it when I'm in like a really good, happy mood, because I don't want to bring myself down. But then if I'm already feeling quite down, then I don't want to bring myself lower. So I think you kind
yeah,
of got to find
in
yourself
the
in that.
middle.
Yeah, I think you've got
Yeah,
people right in the right zone to
I
see it.
haven't I haven't watched a documentary for like a really long time. The last time I watched was about religion.
Yeah,
And there wasn't really anything like brutal in there. There was like little snippets like that would just flash up sometimes, but that was
yeah,
last year. But otherwise I haven't, because and I know right now, I mean I'm okay now. Like the last time I was on here, I was in such a like trauma state of just all the
yeah.
shit going on in the world that there's no way in a million years I would have like been able to watch anything. But yeah, so I definitely agree with you there. Like you definitely have to be in the right state. You've got to, because it
Yeah.
is traumatic, isn't it? So
Right. Do you know what, the
pace
word trauma
yourself.
state is absolutely spot on. I think it's really important as well to have that support system. I think once you kind of connect and you see and you empathize with what's going on, it is traumatic for you as the person watching it. So it's really important to have a support system, or
Yeah,
someone to talk to. There's another thing I really like about XR and Animal Rebellion and all those is they've literally, so I've just come back from Glasgow yesterday after the COP26 protests, and I'm looking on the group chats, and XR are posting I can't remember the actual wording or the name of the teams or the groups or whatnot, but literally support for people to just pick up the phone and talk to somebody after the kind of trauma of just being an environmental activist or an activist of any sort. So that's really, really key.
yeah, that's kind of like that's a big reason as to why I set this up, because for me, I really had very little support. And the only reason I went vegan in the first place, that I had the balls to do it, is because I suddenly found other vegans. And I wouldn't have been able to do it otherwise. So yeah, that's why I opened up this space, because it's so important to have support. And if you don't have people in real life, like the very least I can do is, provide a space so that there are other vegans around that you can talk to. Like it's some community for me is so important. So yeah.
Absolutely. I think you're doing a fantastic thing. I think it is critical. When you say community is important, I rave about community all the time. It's my lifeblood of happiness. Like, so yeah, I think it's really great work that you're doing. Well
Thank
done.
you. Appreciate that. So let's talk a little bit about your van life. What's it like to live in a van? Like how often are you in your van?
Oh, it's amazing. I love it. So I've been doing it since last October. I went full time. It's just over a year. And I was quite happy living in my house, my normal life. But since moving in the van, I've never been happier. So I'm in it most of the time. So now that my daughter lived with me to begin with, and I homeschooled her, but it just didn't work out. She'd always lived with me, but she just missed other kids. There weren't other kids on these protest camps, and homeschooling is. I found it quite hard trying to balance that with also running a business and doing the activism. So yeah, as a family, we eventually made the decision for her to go and stay with my mum. But that now means that every other weekend I get to go home and get my mum to do my washing.
Yeah, that's always handy.
Oh, she's brilliant. If the washing machine's full when I get there, I just leave my laundry next to the washing machine, and then it's like next thing I know, it's like all dried and
It's
folded, and
magic.
it's wonderful. So I do have, I think I've got quite a luxurious lifestyle as far as protest or van life goes, because I have that. So I'm back there at least every 2 weeks to get my daughter, and then school holidays and everything as well. But yeah, the rest of the time I drive around just on the different campsites. I think I finally got the leak fixed. It leaked since I got it.
Oh dear.
Last December. So Well, one leak has definitely been fixed. Whether there's more, I don't know. We need it to rain. I can never get the heating to work. But other than that, it's amazing. And my dog's always bringing mud and hair into the bed. But other than that, no, it is cracking. It's just so freeing because I'm all over the place. And this last week, I've gone from Milton Keynes to Aylesbury to Buxton in Derbyshire to Glasgow. Now I'm back in Buxton, then I'm going to Reading tomorrow, and then back to Aylesbury on Wednesday. So it's just every day is an adventure. I get to the best thing for me, along with the freedom to move around, is the community. It's living on these Stop HS2 camps with my people, or going to the animal rebellion events and being with my people, and we take care of each other and we absolutely love each other, and we just I've never been happier. It's amazing.
So in terms of like food and stuff, do you all eat your food and stuff together? Like, is there a little like hall or something that you all eat food together?
Yeah, so it varies sort of situation to situation. Say the Stop HS2 camps, so most of our food is either donations. We've got like loads of food stored in like filing cabinets and stuff. We have to be careful to keep the rats away. So we'll have like food donations. A lot of food we get as well as out of skips. Supermarkets throw so much food away. It's disgraceful, and it's all wrapped in plastic, and it's good food. So a lot of our food that we get, we call it skipping. So we'll literally go out and we'll just take the food out the skips and eat it because it's good for a few more days. So yeah, generally like breakfast and lunch, I tend to sort of feed myself. Sometimes there'll be communal meals, but then the dinners, there's always a communal dinner. Someone will just cook up something, and it's nearly always vegan because there's a lot of vegans on the sites. Yeah, so then we generally will eat our dinners together. I'm on quite a health kick. I've been struggling with some health issues, so I'm now focusing on more of a whole food diet. So I'm started buying a lot of my own food and cooking it in here because I just want to focus on eating.
I was going to ask that because of how strongly you're like, no, I don't miss anything. I wondered whether that was, you've got to a point that you don't want to eat like fake meats and stuff.
No, I do enjoy fake meat. For me, it is purely down to the ethics, but just for my own health reasons, I'm suffering some undiagnosed GI issue.
Okay.
I think I've had it for as long as I can remember, but it's getting worse. So I just thought, you know what, while the doctors are faffing about, it's like with the NHS, they're strained, it takes ages.
Oh my gosh, it's fucking forever.
Yeah. So I thought in the meantime, you know what, it can't hurt to change up my diet. So I'm just focusing on mostly eating fruit, veg, nuts and seeds, and then if I want sort of more starchy carbs and other stuff, I'll play around with that. So I have started buying my own food and cooking it, but I could probably get away without buying my own food at all because we are well fed.
Yeah.
Generally as activists.
Do you have because obviously you're got such little space where you live, do you find it difficult to cook?
No, I've got a I could give you a little tour of the van if you like.
Yeah, let's do it.
I don't know if I can flip the screen around. No, I might have to just, oh no, I think I can. Hold on. Right, it's pretty much tidy, so it's in a decent state. So I'll just show you. So here this is a little extra passenger seat in the back, and I've got like my little tables. This is like my dining table / work table.
That's nice.
Everything. And then yeah, I've just built a little sofa here, which is predominantly a dog bed, but she's decided today that she wants to be there.
Oh, there's your little doggo.
Yeah,
hello, baby.
she's an absolute cracking little companion.
What's her name?
Roxy.
Oh,
she's brilliant. You lovely, aren't
you? Oh, she is so sweet.
And then my kitchen unit. So I've got running water. And then underneath this, that's my cooker. So yeah,
oh, that's so nifty.
Yeah, it's all about, there's not a huge amount of space, but it's all about sort of just being clever with your space.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, cooking here is easy. If I'm cooking for more than one person, it can be a little bit tricky. Sometimes I'll take my daughter, like a little while ago, we went like out for a day in the woods, and I took a couple of her friends. So trying to cook for 3 children plus me was a little bit more tricky.
Yeah.
But otherwise it's fine. I mean, it's all my hob. I don't have a microwave or an oven or anything, but then at the camp it's all open fire. But I don't know, I'm just used to it, so it doesn't feel difficult at all. I tend to just sort of saute everything.
Fair enough. So is your daughter vegan?
No, she was a meat eater, And when I went vegan, she went vegan briefly, but she just didn't connect to it. So she's vegetarian, but I think she's more vegetarian out of a dislike of meat rather than ethics.
Oh,
So she'll eat
okay.
vegetarian sweets. So that was quite hard for me. So I was so proud of her when she went vegan. I was like, this is amazing. But then she kind of went back on it. So it's a bit of a tricky one as a parent, because especially if she doesn't live with me. But I think I don't think it's right to force veganism on her, because she'll just push back.
Yeah.
You know, and my way of doing it is, I've always said to her, is if you want to eat non-vegan things, that's fine, but I'm not going to buy them for you.
Yeah.
So that's how I do it. So I'm like, if you want me to buy, you know, I will buy you vegan foods, I will cook you vegan foods. But, you know, if you're out with your dad and you want to eat something non-vegan, or if you're at nanny's house, you want something non-vegan, that's fine. I'm not going to dictate to you what you can eat, but I'm not going to fund those industries. So
Yeah.
that kind of works really well. And I'm just hoping, if I continue with the gentle approach, I do hope one day she'll go vegan. But I think if I try to force it or try to guilt her or anything like that, I think she's just going to push back. So
Yeah,
I'm just
there's just no
hoping.
point. It's like all humanity,
Yeah,
isn't it? Like, you've got to be ready for it, and it has to be your choice, because it, you know, it just doesn't work otherwise.
that's it. So I'm hoping it will come. And speaking to other parents, you know, I spoke to a few other people, and they've sort of had done the same approach. And then when their kids have hit sort of between 10 and 12, that's when a lot of them have then gone, actually, yeah, I want to be vegan. So I'm just going to kind of
Oh, that's
hope
cool.
that. But yeah, but just support her, you know, no matter what she does, because she's my baby and I love her no matter what. So
Yeah, exactly. So how would you say then that veganism has impacted your life?
oh, well, it feels good. I tell you what, when I first went vegan, I actually genuinely didn't believe all the health claims. I thought we humans were meant to eat meat, but you can be healthy being vegan. Although I was, you know, and I mean, I was pretty healthy anyway. The only change when I went vegan to my health that I noticed was that my skin got a lot better. I used to have spots, not really bad acne, but I'd always have a few spots like all of the time. And now I get a few spots like once or twice a month. That was a massive difference. So that really surprised me. And then I watched Game Changers, which a lot of people have seen, and that talks about well, like a plant-based diet, a lot with athleticism and health and stuff. And I thought, this is interesting. So I went away and sort of researched whether this stuff was true, and I realized, like, actually it's really true. You know, we're not designed to eat meat. We're not, you know, most civilizations throughout most of history were predominantly plant-based. Meat was a backup. We are designed to eat some meat, but it's
We're
generally,
frugivores.
yeah, we're just, it's a backup. It's not a very efficient source of nutrition. You know, and I've even read, you know, a lot of like books on health and nutrition and stuff that are not about veganism. They're not written by vegans. They're not written by anyone who, you know, there's no animal or environmental agenda. It's all about nutrition. And even they are all saying, actually, oh, sorry, my stand slipping away. No, it's okay, it's there. You know, and they're all saying, you know, you need to be eating a predominantly plant-based diet. And then when you look into things like heart disease and diabetes and obesity and all these other, like, so many illnesses and you know, even osteoporosis and stuff like that, a lot of it is linked to eating animal products. So yeah.
Did you find it difficult to find these studies? Because I know that there's, you know, I mean, like, even from my experience, sometimes I've been like, right, I need to go find a study, and I struggle with it. Like, did you find it hard to find stuff?
No, I think it's just a lot of things I've read have been referenced. So when I'm reading sort of books
Okay.
about stuff, a lot of it has references. Then you can go and find the study quite easily. You can't always access the full study. Sometimes you just have to read the abstract, but the abstract kind of gives you what you need to know anyway.
Yeah. Okay, that's interesting. Books are the way to go. So in terms of the plant-based food you eat, what is your favourite thing to eat?
Oh my Lord, where do I begin? I tell you what, my favourite treat food is Papa John's. I love their pizzas and I love their sides.
Which one? Which pizza? Because they've got
It's got
loads.
Garden Party.
Okay.
So when I went veggie at 9, all the veggie options for everything. Like for pizzas, they only had the cheese, the plain cheese, or the veggie supreme, or the garden party, depending where you go, or just like the vegetable. They all had the same mix of vegetables. Subway, there was only ever one option. So for many, many years, I only ever had one option. So I've gotten used to that. So that's, and now that
it's like
but now
sentimental.
yeah, and now there's way more vegan food. Now there's tons and tons of choices, but I'm still kind of hooked on the original ones because that's what I've learned to love. Yeah, so that and the tater tots with jalapenos and vegan cheese, and
I love tater tot.
Oh my god, and the not chicken bites. Is that the Papa John's ones? Their vegan chicken nuggets are just banging. Other than that, I don't know. I love a lot of food. I love loads of veg. And that's not something that came naturally to me, by the way, as I'm not just a person who woke up one day and is like, oh, I love vegetables, I love fruits. That's a habit I kind of learned. But now I absolutely, yeah, I love gorging on like really good, healthy, nutritious foods. Yeah.
What's your go-to meal to cook, especially like 'cause you haven't got a lot of space?
At the minute, I mean, it's changed a bit recently, but I've literally got a bag here full of fruit and veg, and it's just grab whatever's in there, throw it together in a frying pan. So what have I got at the minute? Just like leafy greens, there's some sweet corn, garlic, ginger, peppers, courgettes, aubergines, just usually like just random whatever veg I can get. I like to chop it up and throw it in a frying pan.
So you do like a vegetable stir fry type thing with just veg?
Yeah, I do a lot of those, and then I'll add, you know, tofu or chickpeas or some kind of protein, or maybe a bit of nuts or something, and that's it's kind of my main jam at the minute.
Sounds
but
good.
then obviously there's the communal meals at camp, so that'll be a lot, you know, there might be a lot of curries and lentil dals and stuff like that, so it's pretty varied.
Sounds good. Nice. So tell us a little bit more about your activism. Like, I know you've done a lot, like tell us more.
Oh God, where do I begin? Yeah, so I live on the Stop HS2 campaign. I move around a lot. I'm probably only there about half, like 50% of the time actually, but that's the biggest chunk. So a lot of it is just being on the camps. I've done a lot of actions. So with HS2, we do you remember the Euston tunnels where we had activists in the tunnels at Euston? I think Swampy was there.
I did not know that.
Yeah, it made pretty big headlines, but basically our friends were all down in these tunnels trying to protect the site, and HS2 were very illegally, very dangerously trying to, you know, dig them out and driving heavy machinery over these fucking tunnels. It was horrific. It was really, really horrific. So a bunch of us trespassed onto the Camden compound, and went and sat on their machinery, and we said we're not leaving till you make sure our friends are safe. And then because if you're over 2 meters high, you can't just be pulled off. It's health and safety. They have to get specialist equipment to come and get you down.
Okay.
And obviously they can't drive it while you're on it because health and safety. So, you know, we went and sat on a bunch of their machines and pretty much shut the whole site down for the day, and then got down at the end of the day and all got arrested. So that was an interesting one. I've done a few things with Animal Rebellion. So some of the coolest ones were we shut down McDonald's twice. There was one we shut down. They have 4 distribution centres in the UK that supplies the whole of the UK. So people went to the different sites. I went to the one at Hemel Hempstead, and we had people. So we had lock-ons. I'll just explain those for people that don't know. So a lock-on is basically like a big tube. It's usually made of concrete with like a metal bar in the middle, and you wear like a special like chain bracelet. Basically, one person puts their arm in each side, and then this chain bracelet locks onto this little bar in the middle, and basically you can't be moved, you can't be pulled out because it's a slip knot sort of thing. So as you pull it, it just gets tighter. And then because it's big and heavy, you can't just pick it up and move people. So basically, when you've got a lock on, the police have to come with a specialist team and cut you out with like specialist equipment, and they take hours and hours to arrive. So with these distribution centres, what we did was we also have beacons, which are these amazing bamboo structures that are like very, very high, like 10 meters plus, so what we did with the distribution centre, so we got to their gates, erected these beacons, and we put them on top of some special lock-ons little flats, so people locked in at the bottom. Very amazing, brave rebels climbed the beacon in their climbing. I'm not a climber, I'm terrified of heights, but they climbed up the beacons, and then we parked vehicles in front of the gates as well, and I was sat on top of the vehicles, and then there were people locked on underneath, so it's quite a complex thing. So, you know,
Yeah, sounds it.
they need cutting machines, they need cherry pickers, they need all this stuff. So we did distribution centre. I think we shut them down for, was it 2 or 3 days? We actually made international headlines with that one. And then we did a similar thing at the McDonald's burger factory in Scunthorpe. We sort of camped there. We had a whole camp there for like a week. That was fantastic. Again, I just got to, I always have the really bougie role of just sitting, because on top of the vehicle it's quite comfortable. We can move around, you know, we can eat, we've even got a little bucket to pee in. It was actually, that's luxury in the activist world. That's luxury, whereas the people up in the beacons, which really slowed them down, they just had to kind of sit in a harness for like days. So they were like,
gosh.
Epic. And the people in the lock-ons as well, if you're in a lock-on, you just have to stay in the lock-on, because if
I
you come
imagine
out,
that would give you pins and needles galore doing that. With me, I'd get pins and needles so easily. I'd be screwed. I'd need your job.
It's not comfortable. I did lock in. I locked on when we shut down the slaughterhouse in Manchester. It was Europe's largest slaughterhouse. They kill 4,000 pigs a day.
Oh my gosh, that's horrendous.
Yeah, we shut those bastards down.
Well done.
Yeah, that was uncomfortable. But then, yeah, so when you do these actions as well, you've got massive support teams. So Animal Rebellion especially, they're so well organized, they think things through, they always have a really clear message, and the support teams there. So I always say, like, being on top of the vehicles and stuff, I kind of get the glory role. You know, I'm the person stood up there on the vehicle, but really I've actually got the pretty easy job. I'm just up there sitting on a lilo chilling, and then you've got all your support team around you that, you know, they make sure that you're warm, you're dry, they'll empty your pee bucket for you, they'll bring you food, medication if you need it. They're fantastic. So it's a really well organized team.
Sounds awesome. So
yeah.
I'm just curious, like, because for me this is what holds me back about with stuff. Like, I want to be a lot more involved in activism. I mean, right now my life doesn't call for it, but the thing that does hold me back, admittedly, is the thought of getting arrested. So tell me what it's like to be arrested.
It's not that bad. I'll start by saying, like, you don't have to be arrested to be an effective activist. You're not dip your toe in the water with a well-being role, or just show up and watch, you know.
But I want to be that person, like, honestly, like I have that kind of, like, I can be a bit bullheaded, and I am, you know, I am a very brave, confident person, but that's like one thing. But I want to get there because I can see myself doing it. Like, honestly, like I admire everyone that does it so much. I'm like, I want a piece of that action. I'm just not there yet. So convince me.
Cool. So if, you know, I say it's not that bad, I say that from a very privileged position, you know, of sort of knowing that I'm going to be arrested and being able to pre-plan. So with Animal Rebellion, you know, there's special trainings, so you know what to expect. And when we go into a situation and we know that we will, or even if there's just a chance of being arrested, we will often write phone numbers on our arms. So when you get to the police station, you can have 2 calls. They'll often make the calls for you, but one is to let someone know where you are. That's your right, to have someone let known where you are. So that's where you write down the back office number. So we often use Extinction Rebellion, but different actions, different groups might use different numbers. So they'll call them, and then you've now got someone on the outside who will check in with the police station and check that you're okay, and make sure that there's people outside waiting for you when you get released. And then you'll want the name of a solicitor. So we always, you know, sort of know which solicitors we'll use. With Animal Rebellion, we often use Hodgson Allen's, but there's a few. There's Kelly's, there's Birds, Commons Law is my favourite. So we kind of know. So yeah, so you get arrested. Always bring a book with you, because if you ask nicely, you know, they don't have to let you take a book into the cell with you. But in my experience, if you ask nicely, they've never said no to me. If you have any medication, make sure you have that on you with labels. I've got some quite nice painkillers that I need sometimes, so that's quite nice in the cell. You just get a bit high on painkillers. But again, that's a privilege of mine because I happen to have them because I need them. So yeah, so you'll be arrested. So a lot of us, what we do when we first get arrested, when we're first cut out or removed from the vehicle, we might go floppy. This is a personal choice. If you go floppy, it means you just refuse to walk. You're not resisting arrest, because I think that's a separate offence. But if you go floppy, it just means they've got to carry you to the vehicle, which just slows them down. We want to slow them down. And generally, I'm quite chatty with the police. I know a lot of activists really don't like the police, and with very valid reasons. I've got a bit of a different perspective because my parents are actually police officers. So I've got a bit of a different
they must love what you do.
Yeah. Yeah, so you'll get there, you'll be searched, you get booked in, and then you just have to sit in a cell for a while. I think having a book is a godsend. You can ask for like pen and paper to write stuff, and then you just go. You'll often get your fingerprints done. They do like waking you up in the middle of the night. If they keep you in overnight, they like to wake you up. You know, I've had my fingerprints done at like 2 a.m. before. But do you know what I mean? Like, once you come back, it's not like you got anything else to do, so you go to sleep.
Yeah,
you're entitled to a shower. You can get a change of clothes. So a lot of us will walk around. We've got like our grey tracky bottoms and grey jumpers. That's like this is jail clothes. If you need clean clothes while you're there, you're entitled to them. You can get a shower, hot food, tea, coffee. So yeah, and then you do your interview, which in our circles we always do no comment interviews. So you just don't say anything, or other than no comment. And then you get released, and then you've got your arrestee support waiting outside for you. Now, before I'd ever got arrested, I never really saw the importance of that. I remember when I first heard about arrestee support, they were asking for people to go and do it, and I was like, no, I don't want to do arrestee support. I want to be here protesting. But then I have discovered that, like, yeah, once you've been out, you know, because sometimes they hold you for up to 24 hours or even longer if they want to take you to magistrates court in the morning. So to come out after all that, you know, it's so nice. You'll see friendly faces. They'll, you know, you've got hugs, you've got support, you've got your people. They'll have snacks, they'll have drinks, and then you've got a lift or, you know, some kind of transport to wherever you need to go. So yeah, in my experience, my personal experience, being arrested is not so bad. Not everyone can say the same thing, and not for every arrest.
Yeah.
And you know, there is a certain privilege to being a white person. And
Yeah,
there is
of
a certain
course.
privilege to being middle class. So I don't want to skip over that. I couldn't share with you the experience of someone who's, you know, a different color, a different race, or a different class. I can't speak for those people, but for me, yeah, it's not been so bad. In fact, it's actually quite a nice long nap while you're in there. It's quite a nice rest.
In terms of food, will they actually provide like plant-based food?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they do.
Day breakfast. So it's become a thing. So most police forces, there's two vegan options. There's the veggie chili and the veggie all day breakfast. They happen to be vegan. So it becomes a bit of a joke sometimes, like when we're on top of the machinery, like before we even get arrested, we're like, I'll have the all day veggie breakfast. Or we've had one before where they were so prepared for us. It might have been one of the McDonald's actions. We've been there for a couple of days. They were so prepared for us that they actually had like vegan sausage rolls and just all these vegan snacks and stuff ready for us.
That's brilliant.
Yeah,
Love
because
it.
by law they have to cater for you, whether you're vegan or, I don't know, gluten-free or halal, they have to cater for you. So yeah,
Oh,
I found the food.
that's good to know. Yeah, I did
Yeah.
wonder that, because like even hospitals here, they won't cater for vegans. So I'm like, what are the chances that a police station would? So that's good to know.
Yeah,
it's very good to know. Right, I'm not so worried about it anymore.
yeah,
You've
yeah.
done a good job.
Yeah.
So last question then. If you could provide one piece of advice to somebody that is thinking about it but not quite there yet, what would you say to them in terms of veganism, going veganism?
Just try it to start with. And something I've learned as well, that's it's quite controversial in the vegan world. So you get a lot of people vegan, you know, die hard, and I totally respect their beliefs. But there's definitely a certain thing like, you know, it's not enough to take baby steps. And I see a lot of anger around this, and I do get where it comes from. But actually, you know, the statistics show that people who actually take baby steps and do it bit by bit and transition to veganism gradually are actually far more likely to stick to it long term or permanently than people who switch overnight. Not to say, you know, I switched overnight. I went vegetarian like that after my sausage and turkey Twizzler. And then I switched vegan like that. And that was the right thing for me. But, you know, some people just need to, I mean, I can't relate to it personally in terms of taking the baby steps, but I do know that the statistics show,
well,
you know,
I'm one of them.
Yeah.
I am one of them. I went from pescatarian to vegetarian, back to eating meat for a little while, to then going vegetarian and vowing I was never going to eat meat again. And then when it came to like veganism, I did the whole like, right, once a week I'm going to be vegan. But then actually when it came down to it, because I did like a little mini workshop, like a 4-week workshop, I was like, I was planning to still eat backyard eggs and honey, and something in me just went, no. Even though like honey, I didn't understand why for a long time. I think I didn't understand why people didn't eat honey for about a year, but I just couldn't eat it. I just didn't want it. So like, and like I gave myself permission, I think, as well, to like when I craved stuff, because I craved like cheese and onion crisps for a little while. I was like, just eat it, get it out of your system, just eat it. And I did it once. And then I think the second time I did it, I was like, this is gross to me now. So I just cut it. So like, and I am so strongly, I mean, obviously, because I'm vegan activist too, but I am so strongly like on the vegan path. I would never ever go back. And I personally, when you said about I can't eat that, I actually can't. I've tried. Like I have like, I've accidentally bought stuff with milk in it a couple of times. And I'm like, right, you've already done the damage, you've already bought it, just eat it. I physically couldn't do it. So that's how strongly I am. And I did it gradually. So
that's fantastic. That's really cool to be able to share those two different stories. So you know, the advice I suppose to people would be to do what's right for you. And you know, there's a lot of psychology as well around something called forbidden food. So I won't get too much into it. I've suffered an eating disorder in the past, binge eating disorder. I've struggled with my weight. I've struggled with, you know, all sorts. And something that comes up again and again, both in therapy and in just, you know, a lot of nutritional studies, is when you make a food forbidden, you can crave it more. So if you need to take baby steps is the right thing for you, then you need to sort of think to yourself like, okay, I'm not forbidden from eating this food, but I might want to think, you know, I might choose not to because of the ethics, and choosing not to. So start with that. Don't start off by thinking I can't have this. Start by thinking, do I want to eat this? Why do I want to eat it? Why do I not want to eat it? And then, you know, make your decision from there, and go a bit easy on yourself. I'm all for veganism. I want to see a vegan world. I'm going to spend the rest of my life fighting for a vegan world. And having said that, I'm not into judging people for not doing it good enough. You know, I'm not on board with, you know, totally black and white. I think some people need to transition and some people can switch, and so just do what's right for you, and just keep trying to do the best that you can in every given moment.
Awesome. Yes, I agree. So if there are people watching that would like to get hold of you, how can they get in contact?
Oh, that's a good question. Are they able to, I don't know if they're able to reach out to you as an intermediary to pass on, or
can do, or like give, if you got an email address or your Facebook, if you're willing to.
Happy for them to connect on Facebook. I won't bother giving my Facebook name because that changes sometimes. I don't necessarily want to give out my phone number or email, but if you're able to be an intermediary, I'm more than happy to speak to people. That's another thing, I didn't even touch on that, and we're running out of time. Another thing I'm really into in my activism is supporting other people, and sort of well-being and nurturing that. So if people did want to reach out and have a chat, I'm so happy to do that. But yeah, if this is a YouTube, so maybe at YouTube comments or reaching out to you, if you could put us in contact or something, that would be really cracking. Or just rock up to a Stop HS2 camp, you'll probably find me there.
Is there a can you share the website for like all these camps that you go to?
Oh, so there's quite a few. So with HS2 there is stophs2.org, and there's also HS2rebellion.org. I think I've got those right, but if you just googled Stop HS2 or HS2 Rebellion, you'll find the websites. I think the HS2 Rebellion site's got the list of campsites on it, but don't quote me on that.
What does HS2 stand for, by the way?
HS2,
Yeah.
high speed railway 2.
Okay.
Just basically a really fast train that no one wants.
Fair enough.
Desiccating all our forests and nature reserves and destroying the environment, poisoning aquifers and all sorts of horrific things.
Okay, that's interesting, because I hadn't heard of Stop HS2 before you said.
Yeah, I didn't realize I've just
learning.
So this whole chat and I haven't even told you, like, mentioned HS2. So in a nutshell, for you viewers, if you haven't heard of it, High Speed 2 is a high-speed railway going from Euston to Birmingham. Even though we already have a train line that does that, but it cuts a whopping 20 minutes off the journey. And to do it, they've cut down millions of trees. They're destroying forests. They're destroying, ancient woodlands. They're destroying nature reserves, people's homes, people's businesses. It's just an absolutely horrific project costing over £100 billion of your taxpayers' money. So that's that. Yeah, bad.
Yeah,
but
definitely.
We're
good. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
Right, so that is the end. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
For being a part of it. It's been fantastic. And I'm definitely going to keep in contact with you for sure.
Yeah, it'd be great.
It's been wonderful. So yeah, thank you, and thank you viewers for watching, tuning in with us. I hope you've learned some new things and hopefully are inspired. If you are a vegan and you're watching, please do get in touch with me. I am Luna Bloomer. You can find me on Facebook, or you can email me at veganbloomers@gmail.com. And if you haven't, like, for anyone that's watching, please do come and join our community on Facebook, Vegan Bloomers. I'm happy to answer questions. There's loads of resources in there, and I'm sure there's so many other people willing to help you as well. And you're not alone on whatever journey you're on, because there's so many of a mix of people in there. So yeah, I update it like as often as I can with new stuff I find, places, like new friends, all sorts of stuff. So yeah, come and join us. And thank you again for watching, and I shall see you next time. Much love.
Bye.